The King James Bible, published in 1611, is the most widely read book in the English language and now the earliest known draft, illustrating the actual thought process of one of the translators, Samuel Ward, was recently discovered by an American scholar, Jeffrey Allen Miller, an assistant professor of English at Montclair State University in New Jersey, who joins us now to discuss his exciting discovery. Jeffrey, welcome and congratulations.
Thanks so much for having me.
Tell us where you found this draft. You were doing research at Cambridge University, correct?
Sure, yeah. So I was asked to write an essay about one of the men that we knew was involved in the translation of the King James Bible. And this particular man, Samuel Ward, had gone on to become the master of one of the colleges that make up the University of Cambridge, Sydney Sussex College, probably most well known as being the college that Oliver Cromwell attended. So I knew that a lot of his manuscript, notebooks, and miscellaneous other papers survived there. So I just went to the archives and was just trying to see if I could figure out what were some of the things that this man was interested in at the time. And in one of his many notebooks that survived there, I found this draft.
And you were already a Ward scholar, so you were familiar with his handwriting. It's a little difficult for some people to read. Do you think that was why you realized this had been miscategorized?
It's part of the reason. I mean, I think the person who had initially cataloged it, it was a woman named Margot Todd, and she could, I think, really read his handwriting very well, too. But certainly his handwriting is bad, and it only got worse over time. Thankfully, he was a little bit younger when he was doing this. But it's also partly that it doesn't really look like what you might expect a draft of the King James Bible to look like. So if you're looking at it very quickly, it does actually look more like what it was initially cataloged as being. It looks more like a commentary.
There it is.
Right,
now,
exactly.
Tell us what we're looking at here exactly, because what I think is so fascinating is that you say we can see him making corrections. You can see the thought process of the translator.
Absolutely. So one of the things that to know about the King James Bible is that the translators were in fact ordered not to compose an entirely new translation in their own, but rather to revise the previous English translation known as the Bishop's Bible. So what you can see him doing here is querying verse by verse, word by word, every part of that previous English translation known as the Bishop's Bible. So Minvarath right there, that's from verse 8, chapter 8, verse 2. And he notes that, look, in the Greek, it's not like that, and that thus I think it should be translated this other way. And you can just see him going through line by line, saying there's seque Genève.
Yes.
He's telling himself to follow the Geneva Bible, which was another English translation. So if you look at it very quickly, it looks like he's just commenting on the Bible. But as you look into it, you realize he's not commenting on it, he's drafting it.
Fascinating. So describe for us that aha moment you had.
So it wasn't actually kind of in the moment right when I looked at it and think, oh, that's what it is.
Oh my goodness, this is a draft of the King James Bible.
It took a little bit of piecing together, so it was in some ways an aha moment that occurred in stages. Partly it was first trying to figure out which part of the Bible he seemed to be commenting on.
Yes.
And then I realized that that was a part of the Bible that he'd been asked to translate. And then at some point it all, once that came together for me, it all sort of suddenly
Did you get up and jump up and down? What did you do?
I sort of sat back in my chair, and there's a moment of disbelief. I mean, you
Yes.
can't really quite believe that you're looking at what you're looking at. So then you want to make sure you cover all your bases. I told my wife what I thought I'd found, and then slowly but surely you start to
allow yourself to believe it. So tell us very quickly a little bit about the translation of the King James Bible. It was done by teams of translators, correct?
Exactly.
And why was it being retranslated at all?
For a couple reasons, probably. I mean, there are probably many reasons why they wanted to do it. So there was a new king on the throne at the time, James I, the James who will go on to lend his name to the translation. And the previous official translation, so to speak, of the English church at the time was this translation known as the Bishop's Bible. But it was widely regarded as being not a very good translation. And then there was another competing English translation known as the Geneva Bible. But James I basically hated this translation.
That one didn't allow for the divine right of kings,
exactly.
correct? Which is a problem.
It had these marginal notes that would say that if the king was wicked, you could just rise up and overthrow him.
No, I didn't like that. I didn't like that. But the King James Bible is also well known among English scholars for beautiful turns of phrases.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Like a drop in the bucket, and some of these phrases.
Skin of our teeth, the world turned upside down, things like that.
We still use these. Do we know if we can attribute any of these directly to Samuel Ward now?
I don't know, actually. I think that there's, one of the, probably one of the most moving phrases of the thing that he was involved in there's this phrase called the glorious is the fruit of good labors. That's his.
Yes.
In a sense, though he's following a previous English translation and trying to get back to it.
Right.
But definitely the King James Bible writ large shaped the language arguably more than any other work ever written. And it's certainly the most widely read work of English literature ever written, surpassing even Shakespeare.
It certainly is. Fantastic discovery. Congratulations.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.